Penguin Random House Audio presents The Starfish and the Spider, The Unstoppable Power of Leaderless Organizations by Ori Brafman and Rod A. Beckstrom. Read for you by René Ruiz. To Arif, who insisted that we write, and to our families and friends for their support. Introduction. It was like a game of Where's Waldo. But instead of kids playing the game, the players were the world's leading neuroscientists. And instead of Waldo, they were looking for a curly-haired, sweater-wearing grandma. Anyone's grandma. The neuroscientists were trying to answer what at first appeared to be a simple question. We all have memories, whether of our first day at school or of our grandmother. But where, the scientists asked, do these memories reside? Little did they know that they were about to arrive at a conclusion that would have surprising implications, not only for biology, but also for every industry in the world, for international terrorism, and for a host of far-flung communities. Scientists had long assumed that our brains, like other complex machines, had a top-down structure. Surely, in order to store and manage a lifetime of memories, our brains needed a chain of command. The hippocampus is in charge, and neurons, which store specific memories, report up to it. When we recall a memory, our hippocampus, acting like a high-speed computer, retrieves it from a specific neuron. Want to access a memory of your first love? Go to neuron number 18,416. Want to access a memory of your fourth grade teacher? Go to neuron number 46,124,394. In order to prove this theory, the scientists needed to show that certain neurons are activated when we attempt to retrieve a particular memory. Beginning in the 1960s, scientists wired up subjects with electrodes and sensors and showed them pictures of familiar objects. The hope was that each time a subject was presented with a picture, a specific neuron would be triggered. Subjects spent hours staring at photos. The scientists watched and waited for specific neurons to fire. And they waited, and they waited. Instead of a neat correlation between particular memories and particular neurons, they found a mess. Each time subjects were presented with a picture, many different neurons lit up. What's more, sometimes the same group of neurons would light up in response to more than one picture. At first, the scientists figured that it was a technological problem. Maybe the sensors weren't precise enough. For decades afterward, neuroscientists conducted variations on this experiment. Their equipment became more sensitive, but still, they produced no meaningful results. What was going on? Surely, memories had to reside somewhere in the brain. An MIT scientist by the name of Jerry Letvin proposed a solution. The notion that a given memory lives within one cell was just plain wrong. As much as scientists wanted to find hierarchy in the brain, Letvin argued, it just wasn't there. Letvin's theory was that rather than being housed in particular neurons that report to the hippocampus, memory is distributed across various parts of the brain. He coined the term grandmother cell to represent the mythical neuron that houses the memory of grandma. The picture Letvin painted of the brain at first appears primitive and disorganized. Why would such a complex thinking machine evolve in such an odd way? Counterintuitive as it may be, this distributed structure actually makes the brain more resilient. Let's say, for example, we wanted to erase a certain memory from someone's brain. Under the hierarchical model, we'd locate the specific neuron and zap it, and the memory would be gone. But in Letvin's model, the memory would be much more difficult to eliminate. We'd have to zap a pattern of neurons, a much more difficult proposition. Like neuroscientists searching for the grandma cell, when we look at the world outside of our brain, we naturally seek order. we look for hierarchy all around us. Whether we're looking at a Fortune 500 company, an army, or a community, our natural reaction is to ask, who's in charge? This book is about what happens when there's no one in charge. It's about what happens when there's no hierarchy. You'd think there would be disorder, even chaos. But in many arenas, a lack of traditional leadership is giving rise to powerful groups that are turning industry and society upside down. In short, there's a revolution raging all around us. No one suspected that Sean Fanning, sitting in his dorm room at Northeastern University in 1999, was about to change the world. The 18-year-old freshman typed at his computer and wondered what would happen if people could share music files with one another. Fanning came up with Napster, an idea that would deliver a crushing blow to the recording industry. But he wasn't at the head of this attack. The entire battle was waged by an army of music-sharing teens, college students, and eventually iPod-carrying businessmen. Half a world away, when Osama bin Laden left Saudi Arabia and traveled to Afghanistan, hardly anyone realized that in just a few years he would become the most wanted man in the world. At the time, his power appeared limited. After all, what could a man operating out of a cave really do? But Al-Qaeda became powerful because bin Laden never took a traditional leadership role. In 1995, a shy engineer posted online listings of upcoming events in the San Francisco Bay Area. Craig Newmark never dreamed that the site he launched would forever alter the newspaper industry. In 2001, a retired options trader set out to provide free reference materials to kids around the world. He never thought that his efforts would one day allow millions of strangers to use something called a wiki to create the biggest information depository of our time. The blows to the recording industry, the attacks of 9/11, and the success of online classifieds and a collaborative encyclopedia were all driven by the same hidden force. The harder you fight this force, the stronger it gets. The more chaotic it seems, the more resilient it is. The more you try to control it, the more unpredictable it becomes. Decentralization has been lying dormant for thousands of years, but the advent of the Internet has unleashed this force, knocking down traditional businesses, altering entire industries, affecting how we relate to each other, and influencing world politics. The absence of structure, leadership, and formal organization, once considered a weakness, has become a major asset. Seemingly chaotic groups have challenged and defeated established institutions. The rules of the game have changed. This would become strikingly clear on the steps of the U.S. Supreme Court, where a high-profile case was about to become surprisingly weird. Chapter 1: MGM's Mistake and the Apache Mystery. Don Verrilli might as well have uncorked the champagne bottle right then and there on the marble steps of the Supreme Court. The case he was about to argue was a slam dunk. It was late March 2005, and Verrilli must have felt like he was on top of the world. Verrilli is the kind of lawyer you want on your side. He was the editor-in-chief of the prestigious Columbia Law Review. He clerked for Justice William Brennan, and he regularly wins big cases in front of the Supreme Court. The man is one serious overachiever. If Verrilli is like Babe Ruth, he was joined by an all-star legal team that resembled the 1927 New York Yankees. It included heavy hitters Ken Starr of Clinton impeachment and Monica Lewinsky fame, and David Kendall, who defended Clinton during said impeachment. You wouldn't want to be playing against this lineup. Verrilli and crew were the hired guns of MGM, the huge entertainment company. MGM, in turn, was joined in the suit by giants like Columbia, Disney, Warner Brothers, Atlantic Records, Capitol Records, RCA, BMG, Sony,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?